Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live this evening. This is April the 9th, and it was a beautiful day, 2014. The sun was shining. The weather is getting right. Hello, Mother Nature. Where have you been? We've been waiting with open arms. As long as there's no snow. I've had my fill of snow. That is enough. Hope everyone is well, and hope that you enjoyed the day and will be enjoying the weekend. I hear it's supposed to be just as nice, maybe a little cooler, but the sun will shine. We have a wonderful guest for you this evening, and it was a long time in coming, believe me. This gentleman is all over the place, and speaking and giving lectures, and we were able to snag him, and we're very happy that we did, is Mr. Paul Kersey from the Illinois Policy Institute. And we're going to be talking a whole lot of things about a whole lot of things. But we're going to start out this first half hour at least by talking about Pam Harris and her son Josh. And so let me introduce to you my guest for this evening, Mr. Paul Kersey. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. And it's true, you have been all over the place. I mean, I saw you on WGN. I saw you, all over. I saw you bits and pieces of, you're speaking before a forum or whatever. Mm-hmm. Was wonderful. Now we've got you. And let me just read. You can take this gentleman's wonderful picture while I read this information. There you go. This is Paul Kersey. He's Director of Labor Policy at the Illinois Policy Institute. He received a degree in economics from the University of Michigan in 1988. And in 1993, he received his Juris Doctorate from the University of Illinois. Kersey began his public policy work at the National Rights to Work Committee as Director of the State Legislation. In that role, he analyzed and responded to labor legislation in all 50 states. Paul then went on to the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, where he served his first as Labor Research Associate under the former NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board. I get it right?
Yep.
Excellent. Member Bob Hunter, and then after a fellowship at the Heritage Foundation, Kersey returned to Mackinac as Director of Labor Policy. Kersey's articles have appeared in the Detroit News, National Review Online, the Wall Street Journal, and the Chicago Tribune. Got that right, good. Okay, this is who this famous gentleman is that is sitting next to me. And I just wanted to ask you, did you take Pam Harris's case up to the Supreme Court? Was it you that?
No, that actually started before I came to Illinois. The National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation did most of representing Pam Harris. Now we did work together with the Liberty Justice Center, okay, which is related to Illinois Policy Institute and Illinois Policy Action, and we actually did file an amicus brief on that case. So we were involved in it, but it was National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation that sort of took the lead on it.
All right, now what we need to do, Paul, is we need to clarify for our viewers, and we're live, exactly who Pam Harris is and what this fight is all about. So now this falls into your lap, and I'm just the listening public here.
Okay, well, Pamela Harris is a mom. She lives with her husband and her son Josh in the northern suburbs of Chicago. Probably not too far from here.
Yeah, we're in Lake County.
Yeah, and her son Josh suffers from a rare genetic disorder, Rubinstein-Tayby syndrome, very rare thing. But it left him sort of mentally disabled and also physically weakened. His joints are prone to dislocate. It's kind of a debilitating thing, and he requires pretty constant care. and she provides that for him. And in order to do that, she takes part in a state program that under which the state, it's sort of a state of Illinois federal Medicaid joint thing, where they provide her with an hourly stipend for at least some of the time that she spends taking care of Josh. The money comes in very handy. It means that she doesn't have to go and work. It means that she can stay home and take care of her kid. Now, back in the Blagojevich administration, the governor decided that people like Pamela Harris could be unionized. Now, Pam Harris herself wasn't actually unionized. There's two different groups doing very similar things. The other group did get unionized. Then they came after Pam Harris's group. Pam Harris took a look at this and said, no, wait a minute, I do not need a union here. I'm not an employee of the state. No. I'm a mom who happens to be in a situation where she uses this government program and takes care of her son. And she rallied a group of people like her, and they managed to hold off the union. But she is still worried that a union will come in and organize her group. And there are a whole bunch of other families, I think about 20,000 other families in Illinois.
Wow.
that have been unionized. They're, like I said, they're very much like Pamela Harris. And the vast majority of them aren't really employees of the state. They're parents or relatives taking care of their loved ones. So, in order to head off being unionized again, and hopefully to sort of liberate the other ones from the SEIU's, it was the Service Employees International Union that
started
is involved
this,
in this. Yeah. In order to liberate the others from the Service Employees International Union, she pursued a lawsuit and went through the federal courts all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. They had oral arguments on her case last January, and now we are waiting their final decision, which should come down, probably June.
Okay, wow. Well, this is April. I mean, I need to tell you that I'm a mother of 7, mm-hmm. and we have a daughter that's mentally ill, mm-hmm. and that was from the early getting goings. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was told to us at first it was juvenile autism, and then the school district didn't know what to do with her. And so in order for them not to care for her, because it would have to be monies coming out of the school district for residential care, I mean, she was a little girl. She was 5 years old. The principal at that time was John Mason in the school, at Wayne Thomas School, and said, we got to get rid of this kid because she's going to eat up all of the money from the school district that we have here. Mm-hmm. So they called in DCFS and charged us with being bad parents.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have enough time to go into it, but we've got
okay.
documentation enough to choke a horse.
Okay.
And that's at the age of 5. She is now 41 years old. And she never received the care that she really needed, because I went into court with my husband, and she was in there. And the judge, Emilio Santi, was the judge at the time. And I said to my husband, I turned to him, I said, we don't belong here. We don't belong here. We're just looking for help, for special education for our child. She was number 4 of the 7. She's number 4. First daughter after 3 boys. Okay. So, we really didn't know what to do. They, trumped us up on charges or whatever. It was overwhelming. My husband had a heart attack over it. Which left me to have to go back to work and then take care of a family of 7 kids and take care of my husband as well with a heart condition. And So this thing with the union, I don't understand, because we as parents, as mothers, take care of our children regardless of what the situation, unless it runs into another form of unmanageable care.
I mean, unless it gets to the point where you just plain cannot provide
Cannot.
the care.
This is true.
And that's, I think your situation sort of points to why this program is so important, why it's so important that you have this option for parents, and why it's so important that we keep it relatively clear and that we get it right. I mean, I think it would have been a lot better for you, and probably for the school district and everybody else, if you had the option of going and saying, well, if I could get a little bit of help, I can take care of this of my child at home. I think if you'd had that option, a lot of unpleasantness might have been avoided.
They didn't want to listen. They were, it was knee-jerk reaction when they could see she was really out of control. I mean, there was no way to contain her. And so from a mother's point of view, I was just looking for help. Where you go for help, if your child is in a school district, you go to the school and say, what can you assist me on? You have to educate her. So that's when we learned about Public Law 9142. That's, you have to take care of the child and educate her to the age of 21, which is now 22 years of age. 94, 142. Wait, I'll get it. Anyway, the principal left the school. He was even offered more finances or whatever. This was getting to be a bit of a sticky wicket. He really got himself into a situation where it was out of control. She was in and out of the state of Illinois, 54 placements out of the state of Illinois into Willow Glen Academy, where you had to have the prerequisite that she had a psychiatric problem. It wasn't just autism now. Now this is developing into something very bad.
Okay.
And so we have now found that she is schizophrenic and psychotic with suicidal ideations, everything that goes along with it. And they bring her back into the state of Illinois. And Gail Tuller-Friedman, who doesn't live very far from here, was the state's attorney. And she's a mother, and she could see that I was really beside myself with a sick child. But she wanted to become a judge. This is the political aspect now, not necessarily the care for the child. And so she put her into a group home in Chicago where one of her roommates was Jackie Gibbons. That was in 1982. We're going back a ways. And that's when Jackie Gibbons murdered her mother and father in Skokie. And my daughter was the roommate to Jackie Gibbons, was an 18-year-old in with a 8-year-old, rooming together. And this is what, the court system did for a parent, for families looking for help to help their child.
And again, I guess that gets back to why it's very important that parents have the freedom to take care of their children.
And so, where was this help, Paul, that was supposed to come from all these wonderful people? That if you need some assistance, just contact me. And why did everybody turn their back on this child?
I don't know. That's a little bit beyond my understanding. My expertise is the labor issues. The one thing I would say about this though is that I don't see how having a union in there really improves the situation.
There's supposed to be respite care. There's supposed to be help for the child. There's supposed to be. Now, I can probably, with all good conscience, say to you that I am one of the founding members of the Alliance for the Mentally Ill.
Okay.
You got to know that. I wasn't
Okay.
going to sit still. And we're going back 37 years. And so AMI now becomes NAMI, the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. And so with all of this happening, people were dropping from the court system and all these people that were supposed to be doing God's work for this child were leaving whatever, and left me high and dry, and she was being transported all over. The difference between Josh and my daughter Kimmy is you can't see what's going on in the mind. And she looked perfectly normal, except when, you would talk with her, and about the first 3 minutes she was fine, and then she just give you this stare, and you could just look right through her head. She couldn't, communicate. She was just like she was in a trance or had a stroke or whatever. She would just stand there. And her behavior was outrageous, to say the least, to be kind. And with Josh, I did see the tape that Nate was kind enough to send to me. Right. And it shows that you can see he is debilitated. You can very well see that he's not able to really hold conversation with Pam or whatever. That's not the case with my daughter. And so now we're running into mental illness. How do we help this? What do we do? And so for all intents and purposes, had we had someone we could have trusted in these institutions of education and the medical department and special ed and all that, we would have had a daughter that would have lived home. Maybe we would have homeschooled her or brought in someone. But the principal was so quick to make a situation that was bad even worse, that he himself created this monumental mountain that nobody would be able to climb.
Yeah. Well, I think that gets to the basic idea, which is that you want to support families in times like this. You want to give parents as much freedom and let them make the decisions. Which is why the basic idea of the program that Pamela Harris is involved in and is so sound. It's a very good idea to let parents take care of their sick children.
Absolutely.
And the other thing about it is, though, that you didn't need to have a union come in and help you. You were able eventually to start this organization with the Association of the Mentally Ill.
That's right.
And using your own political instincts, your own judgment, you were able to eventually, as difficult as it was, and as messed up as the system was, you were eventually able to navigate it on your own and take care of your daughter. Now, if you had a union come in, there's no guarantee that they would actually have done much better than you would have. They would have taken a lot of resources away from you, and you would not have necessarily had the flexibility to come up with a solution of your own that really addressed your situation, not as a government employee, but as a parent with a child.
And Paul, the home is sanctity. I mean, it's the only place that you can find solace and comfort. If you have a union, I mean, they take that privilege away. Because, you are anticipating people coming in and going out of your house, maybe at whatever hour they feel they want to come in.
Well, let's put it this way: the whole point of allowing people to work to take care of their children at home is that you control your environment. You decide what comes in and what doesn't. The surroundings are familiar, they're comfortable. Your child can get comfortable with them and used to them and adapt to them, and you can structure things so that they're in the best way to care for your loved one. Now, with a union is not necessarily going to be able to improve on that. they can file grievances, but your your working conditions are your home. Who are you going to file a grievance against? Yourself, because the kitchen isn't quite the right way? No, you're going to fix it yourself. What exactly the classical union can contribute in this situation? I've yet to hear a really good explanation for what it is that the union can contribute here.
What do the other parents, you must have connected with other parents that have disabled children, what is their reply to the situation with Pam?
Well, they're the ones that I've been talking to are overwhelmingly hoping that she succeeds.
Absolutely. I'll stand for that. I'll help her. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different situations and a lot of different conditions that families have to deal with. Some children have mental disabilities. Some the problems are almost entirely physical. The intelligence is there, and they can manage their own affairs as long as they have somebody to provide the physical, fix lunch, make physical arrangements. Every situation is different, but the one. Sort of the one overriding concern here is that people give them the flexibility, and the other thing about it is that people respect them for what they are doing and treat them for who they actually are. These are overwhelmingly parents who are taking care of their children. These are not people who are in this for a career.
This is not a career. There is no parent that I've ever met, and with the Alliance for the Mentally Ill, I have met thousands. We used to go out to Elgin and see these people who were there at Elgin, that the parents could no longer manage them. The parents either passed away or moved out of state or whatever, and these children then grew up into their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, living in this type of a situation, which made them institutionalized. They couldn't go into public because there's nowhere where they could go. And so we, as the parents, were baking goods and taking it to them for Easter, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for whatever holiday, so we could see them. And they were so hungry for attention. They would just come up and just want to touch you, grab you, hold you, just, because no one came to visit them. That was the mindset at that era. And it didn't get any better when my daughter was ill. I mean, she never went to an institution per se, but the parent does not want to see a sick child. The parent has a child hoping the child is well. But if in fact the child is not, we are there. We gave them life. We are there to help them with life and to provide for them as best we can.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that's really very unfair about this. You had a lot of people who were caring for their relatives, and back in around 2004, 2005, when Blagojevich actually unionized this group, they were not expecting a union to come in. They were not thinking of themselves as employees at all. When they got the first batches of union literature, they thought that the whole thing was a mistake.
Sure.
The response on the actual petition to unionize was very low, and a whole lot of people who didn't really want the union probably just discarded the thing because they never thought of themselves as employees, never thought of themselves as being unionized. Absolutely. And then all of a sudden the state tells them, oh, guess what? Now you're part of a union. It really was dishonest the way it was handled.
I'm sure, and we ran into this as a political problem up here because it was very easy to see and was told and was heard that this one assistant state's attorney, that's where your politics is coming in, who was a Democrat at the time, in a Republican area, wanted to become a judge. Gail Tuller Freeland wanted to become a judge. And the only way that she could show that she could do the job was to collar a sick child and take away the parents and put the child in, 54 placements, Paul. I mean, and the child is disabled. She doesn't even know what's going on in her life. And we're restricted. We can't see her. We can't do this. We can't do that. But Gail Tuller Friedman never became a judge. She dropped out of the attorneys, whatever, didn't practice law for a while because of the fact that she placed our daughter into that halfway house and that these girls murdered the parents. I know that for a fact. I sat in that courtroom in Skokie and 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks, and heard the information and saw the pictures of the deceased parents, Jackie Gibbons, and by the way, she was an adopted child because these people could not have a child and they adopted her. And this is such a sad story all the way around that, I said, I have to stay in this courtroom. They locked the door because the slides they were showing for the forensics on the decedents was so graphic. And I said, if I don't watch this, if I don't see what this is going to be, this could very well happen to us. We need to know, to see. I'm all for learning. I'm all for education. I just don't want to be a participant in a crime scene. That's all. That was, I don't want to do that.
Politics can often be less than pretty, and when you're dealing with people who are who are handicapped, whether it's mentally or emotionally or physically, the temptation to take advantage is extremely strong, and unfortunately there's a political side to the Pam Harris case too, which is simply that that unionizing these parents has made a lot of money for the Service Employees International Union.
Oh, sure.
The SEIU has made $50 million off of the one group that they did unionize over the last 5 years.
And is it that they wanted to be unionized? Did this group want to be?
Whether they really wanted to be or not is entirely questionable. They were never given they were never really given a straight up vote on it, and a lot of it is done by card check instead of by a vote.
Yeah.
So, did they really understand what they were getting? Did they understand what the union was doing?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Or that were
they tricked into it?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of these people get this union card. They don't think of themselves as employees. The response rates on these things is very low. Did the union ever really have the support of a majority of people in the bargaining unit? There are a lot of people. It's very interesting. You look at. There's a thing that workers can do when they don't support the union that they're sort of stuck in, and that is they become non-members. You still wind up paying partial union dues, but you become what's called a Hudson objector, and the union is involved in this. It's the Healthcare Illinois Indiana local of the Service Employees Union. Has an extremely high number of its members who are not actually members, who said, I don't actually formally want to join the union. So there's a lot of reason to think that, there's very good reason to think that if you were to actually take a poll of these people now, a majority and ask them straight up now that they know what the situation actually is, there's a good chance that a majority of them would shoot the union down.
Is there a possibility to deorganization, de-union? How can
decertify is the term?
Yeah. Well, what can they do it?
It's difficult. It's possible. And
What are we
there's
fighting? What are they fighting? Are they fighting the political aspect, or are they fighting those that really want to get in to make the money on these families?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of both. There are the SEIU definitely has a lot of has taken a lot of political stances that people object to. A lot of people just object to the idea that a union is coming in. The benefits that the unions brought them are very speculative, and several $100s a year go to this union. And they don't see the particular benefits from it.
Then what's the use of it?
Well, I mean, that gets back to the political end of things. The Blagojevich and now the Quinn administrations have done a favor for the union. They found a way to basically tap into social welfare funds, shunt some of that money off to the union, and the union can then turn around and use that money to do PAC contributions, get out the vote, and back their preferred candidates. There's a political payoff that's involved in this, and it's not always very pretty.
No, I'm very much aware of that. I can see how it tore apart families. We lived it, and we were threatened. I mean, I was jailed. I mean, I can tell you about the Lake County Jail. I was jailed, and that judge is no longer around. He passed away very early on, but not until he created such havoc by allowing, I think my daughter at that time was 13 years old, to make her own decision. Here she was already diagnosed schizophrenic and mentally ill, and everything that you don't want to hear about your own child or any child. And he just allowed her to not see family or have anything to do with the family. She is one of 7 children with a mother and father, and the grandparents were alive, and they just plucked her out, like you would pluck a flower out of the ground of a family and try to place her somewhere else where she didn't belong and couldn't even get along with them as well. And so I know the heartache that this brings, and I don't even know if a union, I didn't know who to go to or what to do. I don't think a union would have helped us at that point, Paul, or any point. We were the parents seeking help, and we went to find the ones to help us. Dr. Mendelson, who was a renowned pediatrician in Evanston, he said, bring her here, let me see her. And he said, she is very ill. And I said, well, so what do we do? And that was just a visitation time that we had. And he said, you need to go before the judge and let the judge know she is ill. We did that. We did that. They didn't care. They moved her to another placement. They just kept moving her from placement to placement to placement to placement until she placed out of the age grouping, and I think they put her in a home. I have no idea. We have not been in contact. It's a very sad situation. I know I gave birth to a child, and we don't know how she's been cared for. I do know that she's on disability, but that's about all I know. I have no knowledge other than that.
These are very delicate situations. They need to be handled with a great deal of care and sensitivity. And if you're going to handle them well, you need to understand the government or the agencies or whoever is involved really should start off by respecting the family, respecting the wishes and the understanding and the good intentions of parents. And obviously your situation was a lot harder, and
it was incredible.
It was a lot harder than Pam Harris's, but there's that common thread of
a parent with a disabled child.
Not really understanding the situation for what it really was, which is that you have a family that has a disabled child.
This is true. This is true. And the only difference is that with Josh, with Pam, you can see. It's very visible. You can see it. It's like having someone who is in a wheelchair. You can see the person is disabled and cannot walk. And with our daughter, you could not see it on her because there was nothing that, she had 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, there was nothing that was out of order except when you wanted to sit to talk with her. You couldn't do that. And we had to hide the knives, take them out of the house. I was a police officer for 2 years at night. Nobody could sleep because she was roaming the house. There was no way to contain her. And don't forget, Paul, she's only number 4 of 7. So if she was 5 at the time, there are 3 other little girls, an infant under her that she tried to asphyxiate. So with a pillow, we went through the entire gamut. And now these people who still live here in Highland Park, they, I don't know if they really remember or they choose not to remember. But we are here, they are here, but my daughter is not. And we still live in the same house, but my daughter hasn't been back since she's 7 years old. She's 41. So what does that tell you? How do we get together for the holidays? Well, is that ridiculous or what? How do these people sit to eat with their family and I cannot sit to eat with our family? There's got to be some, payback. If they're in office, I'm going to vote against them. You damn well know that. But, what do we do? And what do other parents do? This is a big situation up and coming now because of veterans that have a mental disability with disabilities. I know that is Patrick Kennedy out of Rhode Island, Rhode Island, I think, that he brought up the situation of helping those with mental illness. I have on the program a group that comes on that are those that suffer with mental illness that are criminals. The state makes them criminals because they don't follow instruction because they need medication. That's the only reason why. And if they would only let the families help, or if they would help those families get the medication they need for these people that are in jail, because they're in jail. They're in jail. And Sheriff Dart out of Cook County knows that they're in jail. What does he do with, I think 3/4 of his population suffer from mental illness. So why isn't there a union for that? If Governor Quinn wants to bring up this union situation, then put it to good use if that be the case. If not, do not interfere, destroy, or malign families that are going through a hard enough time as it is with disabled children. And poor Pam and her husband, what do they have to look forward to other than the struggle with Josh to be able to care for him at all hours? And from the message that I received, it says he's, it's just a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. So there is no respite for her. And I hope that she does win what she wants, because I don't find this to be helpful in the least. I find it to be so intrusive into private life, and that the government is stepping into your home, into your bedroom, into whatever you find that you want to have privacy, where they're not wanted. Where does it say in any constitution that the government can do that? They are really overstepping their bounds, Paul.
Well, I think there's a good chance that Pam Harris will get some relief from the Supreme Court. There's a long tradition. There's a long understanding in labor law that unionizing workplaces, unionizing groups of workers, really is meant for legitimate employees, people who go to
yeah, but
to,
factory workers.
Yeah, factory
okay.
workers is sort of your classic example.
Okay.
And people who go to work for a company or for an employer who do a particular job, who earn a wage, whose main motivation is to go and work and earn a wage.
They're working the line. They're working on a line.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that the whole unionization process is really meant for them, and should only be applied to people who are legitimate employees. So there's a long body of law that the Supreme Court can dip into and say, look, these people are not employees. They shouldn't have to worry about union. They certainly shouldn't have to worry about paying union dues. You need to let this one go. And I think there's a very good chance that the Supreme Court will look at that decision, will look at that situation, and say this is not a legitimate use of union law, and bring an end to it on account of that.
We should tell our viewers that this program, as well as others, is going to be on YouTube, and we somewhere down here it should say where to find us on YouTube, and also the fact is that we would like you to visit the YouTube. We have other cases on there. There it is. I can't make it out there. There it is, www.youtube.com/North Shore Live CC Cooper's Corner. And there are other stories on there that you could see. I wish, I'm sorry that we did not have the tape or the DVD to run that shows Pam Harris on there, but it really is, it's very strong. It just grabs you at the heart. This is a mother who loves her family, loves her child, and is really assaulted by the government to give up her privacy in her home and the care that she gives to her son.
You can actually see the videos at our website, www.illinoispolicy.org.
Okay, wait, maybe give that again.
It's www.illinoispolicy, all one word, .org.
Okay, well, we'll have that on there, and you'll be able to see Pam Harris and Josh on that. And the video isn't very long, but it's the words on there are absolutely monumental. And I think, for all intents and purposes, if it weren't for the fact that she's a stay-at-home mom caring for her child, I would give her my vote. Let her run for office, and that's no joke. I can get together a bevy of ladies, and we can we'll put her in office for that if that's what she wants to do, because this is actually, I find, a criminal act to force yourself upon a family that has enough tragedy, let alone to have to.
I don't know if she'd actually call it a tragedy. I mean, it's definitely a tough situation that she found herself in. But if you see the two of them, you can tell that there's a lot of love and a lot of affection.
This is true. I meant for the fact of, number one, he'll never be able to marry. He'll never be able to have his own family. He'll never be able to know the love of a child, his own child. I didn't mean a tragedy in any other form.
I know it. I understand.
As an individual, he can't drive. He can't. Whatever we as human beings do that we find, satisfying, taking a walk in the park, going fishing, hiking, boating. Josh will not alone. He will not be able to do that.
Yeah,
So that's a tragedy. A parent, I can tell you that's a tragedy. We like to see our children grow up and be happy, and the separation when you send them to camp, that's kind of like, okay, they're you have to let go a little bit. They're going to camp, but this is going to be this is 24/7 with Josh. So, pardon me. So. Let's give that address again to the Illinois Policy Institute to see Pam Harris. What is that?
It's www.illinoispolicy, ILLINOISPOLICY.org.
Okay, okay. And if you can't find it, is there a number that they could reach you at, Paul, or is there? Give them the number to the-
our main office
Sure.
is downtown Chicago, and you can look. I mean, it's easy enough to find. Illinois Policy Institute. Just Google Illinois Policy Institute. They should direct you the right way. Or I suppose you could call our main office, which is 312-346-5700. But the best way to go is either to enter the website address,
you'll find it.
or you can do a web search just for Illinois Policy Institute,
Okay.
and that'll get you there quick enough.
I think our viewers need to, I think you need to see this. It's most, it's got twofold. It's invigorating to see that someone is standing up, a family is standing up against a government intervention. That's number one. And the fact that the closeness, I mean, they're inseparable. They are truly inseparable.
Well, you see one thing very quickly, and that is Pamela Harris is not an employee. She's not doing this because Josh is her client.
she's not going.
And if there were a miracle to happen tomorrow, and Josh is cured, she's not going to be thinking about getting
She's
a
not
new
going
client.
to go to another house and do the same thing.
She's not
That
thinking
will
about
never
finding
happen.
another client. She's going to think about getting Josh settled, and then probably puttering in her garden or taking that trip of Italy she's always wanted to take. She's not. This is not a job for her. You'll see that very quickly.
I mean, this is something that we all hope that our children get a good start and push them off a little bit when they go into college and things, so they have a life of their own. This is going to be her life. This is her life, and I wouldn't mind that when you come on next time, if you could bring Pam or bring another member of the family, that would be fine, or bring anyone else that you think would be helpful to talk about the situation. Because our viewers are very astute, and they like to hear about people, and they like to hear about their lives and what transpires. And I'm very forthright with that. And we in this program, we don't lie. We don't have to trump anything up because it's so devastating to begin with. Nobody would believe it, but we lived it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a trend where unions are pushing themselves into places that aren't really workplaces. Another case that we had that we're looking at is daycare providers, and these are people who run little businesses out of their own homes. They take in kids from the neighborhood, and they get state assistance with that. And they were unionized as well, and so you're seeing unions pushing their way into places that they don't really belong.
They don't belong.
And it's and it's creating lots of problems for a
And
whole
if
lot
you
of people.
stand up and say no, I don't want to belong to your union, then what happens?
Well, you don't necessarily get to leave the union anyway. The way the labor law is, once they set up this bargaining unit, this group of people that are unionized, everybody's in the same union, or there's no union at all.
It's like the mafia. I mean, you're in, and the only way you can get out is if they kill you.
Well, not quite that far. There is a process for decertifying a union, but it's very difficult, and they go out of their way to make it difficult. You have to collect petitions, and there's only a certain time when you're allowed to do it. It's very complicated. Not unheard of. It does happen, but they do go out of their way to make it difficult.
If anyone runs into any kind of difficulty with whatever, are you there to be able to give them support or help them legally? If
they're certainly welcome to call us up, and we can at the Illinois Policy Institute, and we can talk to them about what their options are. We do have our own legal defense foundation, the Liberty Justice Center, that we can refer them to, or we can refer you to other groups that we are ally with, and possibly get you some assistance that way.
I have a question to ask. I mean, I don't like to pull this rabbit out of a hat and just, here it is, but answer it the best you can. I won't hold you to it. I don't normally do this, but this is really heavy number. We know the state is corrupt. We know the state is corrupt. We have evidence the state is, let me do it that way.
We have reason
We have
to believe
reason, yes, okay. Maybe my terminology.
that there is corruption
yes,
in
my
some
terminology,
certain aspects of state and local government, yes.
Yes, and specifically, I will make it specific, the 18th floor of the Daly Center, which is probate court.
Okay.
Okay, I can speak from whence I come. I have been there. And those judges are absolutely incredibly crooked. I've not met all of them, but damn pretty close to all of them.
Okay.
And without a doubt, I have found them to be uncaring, in a very bad situation again. This time, I call it the dead, the dying, and the disabled, where they do their dirty work, and they put these people in nursing homes where they really don't belong. The family wants them to be with them, and they find money in putting these people, human beings, in nursing homes, over-medicating them, eventually murdering them because they put a feeding tube in them and don't feed them. They die of starvation and dehydration. I say that because that's what they did to my mother. And so what could we do? We have an unbelievable load of people that are crying for help. Can we reach our hand out to you, to the Illinois Policy Institute? These people on the 18th floor, we had 2 judges removed, and they left the state. Now that's got to tell you something. They left the state of Illinois. One, Judge Kawamoto, she took off for Texas. She thinks nobody's going to know who she is. And the other one is Cesario, and she's gone. So 2 judges. We were in this for 7 years until they murdered my mother.
You know, I don't pretend to be an expert on probate processes or
I
this
can only tell you my
particular things,
experiences.
but let me give you just sort of a general principle.
Okay.
The Illinois Policy Institute, we are a free market oriented think tank. It specializes in state and local issues. And one of the things that we support, and one of the things that we stand for, is the idea that you need to get past sort of a romantic view of government. You need to the public needs to understand that there's nothing magical about being elected to the judiciary or to the legislature or to the city council that makes you all that much wiser or more virtuous than everybody else. So, sort of, and I'll be very honest with you. This is a very general, very sort of 50,000 feet up in the air sort of take on these things.
Up high, okay.
But I think part of the solution is for the people of Illinois and the people of the United States in general, Illinois in particular, to get past the romantic notion about government, to look for more private sector, family, not just companies and businesses, but families and churches and communities and neighborhoods, more private solutions to these problems. If you take advantage of all the tools that you have, not just the governmental ones, but the family and the social ones, you're much more likely to find real humane solutions to these problems of how do we care for the sick, how do we provide opportunities for the poor, how do we take care of the people who cannot take care of themselves. We need to get past thinking strictly in terms of government and think more about social and private solutions to all these problems.
Well, that wasn't the problem. The problem was that the court system was deciding who should live and who should die. It's like a star chamber. And they take whatever monies are in the estate and they divvy it up between the guardians ad litem and the judges. And the families have nothing. And I will tell you that they went through $1.5 million of my mother's. My mother said whatever it takes to keep her alive, she wants to be alive. And they did away with her lickety-split and with her money faster than you can blink your eye. And we didn't even have money to bury her. But yet the guardian at Lytham bought a $1 million mansion in Malibu, California, and was communing with my mother's spirit for 2 years after she passed, so that the judge could give him money that was allocated 2 years later, but never gave money to bury my mother. So it's not that we're looking for assistance, that we want to stop the corruption in Cook County on the 18th floor. And I invite anyone to come down here, any judge, any whatever you are, because Miriam Solo placed my mentally ill daughter, Kimmy, in charge of my 97-year-old mother. And she signed whatever papers. She's mentally ill. You're not allowed to do that if you're mentally ill. Be even in charge of someone who is disabled. And they placed a tube in her stomach to feed her and give her liquid, and they never did. She died. My mother died. I didn't even know that she had passed away. They couldn't reach my mentally ill daughter. And she laid in some morgue for 8 days. We didn't even know what was going on. There's corruption in Lake County, and well, maybe that's a Freudian slip, I'm sorry. In Cook County on the 18th floor. Look, here is my information here, but also please contact Paul Kersey if you have any question about this evening's program or want to hear about Pam Harris and Josh, wonderful, wonderful people, and unions. And we wanted to talk about Northwestern with a football. I don't know if we have time to be able to do that. Hello in the control room, do we have time? Yes? No? 1 minute. What can we say? Yes or no? Unions, yes, no?
I think it's a mistake that they're making.
Mistake.
I think the steel workers are a poor choice. I understand why college football players want to have reforms. There's a lot that is of the economics that surround college sports that are out of whack. But if they want to do the things that they want to do, which is just more choices for athletes, better medical care for people who are injured, more freedom to transfer if they're not happy where they're at, those aren't the things that the steel workers are going to be able to get for them. They need something more creative. They need something. They need to find a different and more creative solution.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think football players need to stay with the team and need to stay with the school and be team players and be students, not to unionize. We don't want to make a business. This is an education. Once they're out of there, if they want to go to a union, that's their business. But once they're in the school, that's for the pleasure of the students, the faculty, and everyone that's been a part of it. Thank you for allowing us in your home or your place of business. I hope you enjoy this evening's program. Have a pleasant evening, a very safe week, and we'll see you next time on North Shore Live Cooper's Corner. I want to thank Paul very much for coming down and enlightening us to what unions are and what they are not.
Thank you.
Very good.